Hi, welcome to IPitomy Training. Today we're going to take a look at IPitomy's onboard reporting package. This is the login page to the PBX, and on the right hand side you have a user login. Your installer will have given you a password for the reports, so you put in for the username reports and whatever password has been given to you by your installer. Then you simply click the login button. The IPitomy comes standard with CDR reporting, which is what you see here on this first page. This allows you to take a look at any number of calls from the date range you select up here at the top, and it also allows you the ability to export to a CSV file, and so that you can use Excel to make your own reports. Going across from left to right, you can see that we have the date and time of the calls, and this is going to be sorted chronologically from newest to oldest. The direction of the calls, incoming, outgoing, or internal, the source of the call, the destination of the call, the trunk if it's available to be displayed, the duration of the call. The little column here that's unlabeled here with the little green buttons are noting that if you have the auto call record feature enabled on your IPitomy, you will then be able to play back the calls here that are recorded automatically, and that's an add-on feature. And then last but not least is the status of the calls. So we're going to run just a short little report here, just pulling up a few days worth of data. I'll pull up the 6th through the 12th, and I'll hit the view button, and this will create a report. This will have the latest call here recorded, and then you have the different pages down here that you can scroll through to take a look. Now, if you're just going to maybe look at something here recent that you want to scroll through and find, or pick a certain day that you want to pull something by, this can give you some valuable information. For example, I can just go click on a particular call, and I can click on particular call, and it will give me a chronology of that call. And so this will kind of show me that I dialed this particular extension, and then the call looks like it went to a no answer, follow me, and then it rang his extension, and then he answered the call, and the call was completed a minute later. So this just gives you a little bit of information, especially even if you're troubleshooting, or you're wanting to see maybe where a particular call went, or how long that particular call was in queue. Maybe for a particular caller or a particular agent in a queue, you'll be able to see that information. Also, if I pull up a call that happened to be recorded with the auto call record feature, you'll have a play button here, and you'll be able to play the call back right here on your screen. Now, to most effectively run reports with this, you would hit the export button here, and then over here on the left hand side you're going to see a file download as .csv file, and then you'll be able to open that up with Excel, and you'll be able to sort your columns. The columns will be labeled exactly the same as what you see here on the screen. So if you pull them up, if you're halfway decent with Excel, you shouldn't have much of a problem of creating a quick report. So basically you have all the columns here are going to be the same as what is on the screen there, and if I'm going to, just for example, maybe I'm looking for a report of outbound calls for the this is the source column, so I'm just going to sort by that. It'll give me all the numbers in chronological order, starting at the top, and then it will then take it down to where I'll see mentions in alphabetical order, and I can easily sort that data and find out how many calls a particular person had. So for example, if I was just going to look here at Alberto's calls, I could quickly go through here and pull up all his call records here by clicking on the time I'm doing here, just so I can see how many calls he had. 72 calls. He was on for almost 9 hours. If you're able to write a simple Python script or something like that, you can make your own easy report generator and use this information here to run your own reports, or you can just do it manually here with Excel. Going back to the PBX here, now you probably have a question as to what these statuses mean. If you go to the IPitomy Wiki online, wiki.ipitomy.com, and type in reports, you'll be able to find out what all these records mean, and you can see here what the description is of each column, and then all of your duration, the information on the statuses. Here are all the different types of statuses that you find in the last column, agent completed, caller completed, canceled, answered, no answer, etc., etc. These give you explanations of all those different statuses here that you see on this last column. So that is what you get standard on every IPitomy system. If you purchase the ACD package, you then get advanced reporting package with it, and then you will see the queue graphs, the queue summary, and the live queue. All three of these buttons will be enabled. If you do not have the ACD package, they will be grayed out. So the queue graphs, if we click on this, this gives you the ability to see one or several queues, the information depending on the date range that you select. I'm just going to select one particular queue here, support PBX queue. And I'm just going to pull it up here for a couple of days, from the 7th to the 12th, starting at 9, ending at midnight. And then I'm going to sort by 2 hours for my call traffic report. And the longer the report range, the wider you're going to want to make your hours. And you'll see why when I pull up the call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this date range, and I'm going to hit generate, and it's going to pull up a report for this particular queue. And so here I can see what was generated, and then I go down here, depending on how I have this particular system programmed. This will give me some valuable information. I have almost 94% of my calls were answered within the target time, and the target time is set down here at the service level, which is 300 seconds, and this is variable for each queue. So that means 94% of my calls were answered within 300 seconds. Then I can see all of my answered call statistics for this queue: 77 calls, 26 seconds average call wait length, which is very good. And then I have my different statistics here for my minimums and maximum wait length, average call length, etc., etc. And then over here on the right hand side, I see my unanswered calls. Only 5 calls were not answered. That just means that 5 people hung up before they were answered, even though the wait time was very short. The next tab you have here is for agents, and this right here will show you the agents that were in that queue for that particular period of time, and each column here gives you data as far as the time and the number of calls. Time here is in hours, minutes, and seconds, and then within the parentheses are how many calls that particular agent had. So you can see here that you have someone that had 6 hours, 19 calls, 4 hours, 16 calls, over 9 hours and 41 minutes, 27 calls, etc. And then over here you have how many times the phone rang in the queue and they didn't answer it and it went to somebody else. And then all the other the information here follows as it does in the first column. So here you can see the inbound calls that came to that agent and the number of calls, the number of outbound calls, the time, and then you have here the internal calls. And then at the end, you have your pause time and your login time, which is very important if you're running a call center where you really want to keep track of how long people are logged in for and how long people are taking breaks and lunches. And it depends on how lax you are on keeping track of the people who are pausing in and pausing out. But you can see here, for example, the different login times, and then how long each person was paused. And this goes for the length of the particular report that you've run. Over here on the graphs, this kind of gives me a traffic analysis, and this is what I was talking about earlier, whether you select every 2 hours or every 4 hours. Here you can read these okay, but if you were to have a larger of a span of time, it would be very hard to read if you were doing it by every 2 hours, so you might want to sort by every 3 hours or every 4 hours. So here you can see that we've got this particular time pulled up, and I can see when my busy times are. So for example, it looks like around 1 o'clock every day. That particular period of time is one of my busiest, between 1 and 3 o'clock for this particular queue, whereas in the morning it's not very busy, and in the late afternoons it's not as busy. So that gives me some valuable information there from my particular queue. And then you have a list here on your logs, which is just a chronology of all the phone calls here in order that I can click on, and I can actually click on these particular calls themselves, and I can see how long the incoming calls and to what DID. Here, going to the main menu, they go to support. Looks like it's sat in queue, and then the call was connected the same minute there that it came in, and then the call was completed at 11:03. So I can, if I have some questions on, a lot of times you'll have somebody that says they called in and they waited a very long time. Well, you can easily log in and take a look at the particular call and see how long that person actually waited in queue. Last but not least, you have the live queue, where if I click on this, this will pull up a web page, and it has all my queues listed on there. This is most effectively used when clicking on one or two queues. So if I click on this particular queue, it refreshes every 10 seconds. This kind of gives me a splash page for my queues. So I can see my average hold time, how many calls were answered. I can see this is every 10 seconds it's updated, so it's more for a live update. I can see here who's logged in. I've got 4 agents logged in here, and I can see here what percentage are in the target time, and which agents are in the queue but are not logged in, and you can see these 2 here are not logged in there. So it's just a quick splash page to kind of give you some information. Also on the Queue Manager desktop software, if you have that turned on, you will have this information here on the Queue Manager that will give you some reporting here, that's real-time reporting down here at the bottom, and you will have this information here for your queues. So here we have a lot of different test queues there that will show you a lot of information that's not being used, but in a normal business you would have maybe 2, 3, 4 queues, and then they would have all information here that you can look at a snapshot and see your average wait time, your average call length, answered, not answered, etc. And a supervisor could easily see what's going on in the queue if they have enough people logged in and things like that. And then also with the ACT package, you will see your queue calls over here in Queue Manager stacked up in the times that they've been waiting. So that's the onboard reporting. You also have what we call a queue summary. So if you're going to run a report, and this was added for to be able to pull up a quick snapshot for the time range you selected for all of your particular queues. So in this case, I've just got it pulled up for 1 day here, but I can easily run it for longer here and generate the report. And this will pull up all of my reports, or a summary of all of my queues, and then tell me how effective I've been, how many total calls has each queue had in that time, how many were answered, how many were not answered, how many were abandoned, etc., etc. So this is a really nice snapshot of what's going on with all of your queues in one nice report. And then there's a print button here that will pull up a nice printable version for you that you can print out. So that is a quick summary of the onboard IPitomy reporting. Thank you for joining us.